Call me old-fashioned, but where I come from, if a grown man and a grown woman want to get together and he wants to consensually bite the shit out of that bitch, that's between him, her, and possibly his dentist. Before we get started, please do me a favor, hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Also, I want to say a quick happy birthday to my East Coast bestie, Miss Renee. Happy birthday, Renee. Happy birthday. Oh, this is why I don't sing. You won't be seeing me on American Idol. Happy birthday, Renee. What's up, everybody? Thai Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. So the Mrs. Kravitz of the internet, otherwise known as Twitter, is back at it again and in everybody's business for no apparent reason, other than the fact that some chicks came out saying that Armie Hammer, who is the star of Call Me By Your Name and a bunch of other shit that none of us could be bothered to watch. Just honestly, if I'm being for real about it, Armie Hammer is just a certified hottie, and that's all there is to it. I don't know anything he's been in, but I could tell you what he could be in if he wanted to. But not with what I'm hearing he's into, because what people are upset about was he had consensual relationships. Nobody's saying that these relationships weren't consensual, with women that were of age, so over the age of 18, where he referred to them as kittens, which I don't see anything wrong with calling somebody kitten. And I also don't see anything wrong with what it was he was talking about. Yeah, he's a little bit freaky. He's into cannibalism, or he loves to play like he's into cannibalism. And the girls that he was hooking up with, he and they were getting involved in what's called CNC, which I hadn't heard of CNC before, which is consensual, non-consensual, basically rape, fantasy, that kind of stuff. But he also takes it a little further and goes into the cannibalism end of it, blood sucking, that kind of stuff. Now, here's where I have a problem with it. Not for anything Armie Hammer did, because Armie Hammer to me is just a freak. Who cares? But if you read any of the messages or you see any of what was going on, which I'll indulge you just a little bit on some of what was being said, I feel like whoever it was that he was chatting with, these women were basically baiting him, or they were just totally into it. Because what seems to have happened is at a point, like anybody that's having an affair, because he is a married man, and some people would have a problem with that. Me personally, I don't know what the deal is between him and his wife. For all I know, they have an agreement. I don't know. I haven't spoken to his wife. I don't know his wife. I never heard of his wife. I barely know who he is. But Twitter is obsessed with it, so am I. Just playing. I really don't care that much, but I think it's interesting to talk about, because I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this, and I think everybody just wants their 15 minutes, and even if it's being known as somebody's side piece that couldn't deal with what he was into, people still want that as their indirect grab at fame. And that's what I do have a problem with, because let me tell you, if I ever had somebody that I was dating talk about some DMs that I had sent them, we'd be in for it. Wouldn't even care, though, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't address it, because it's like, if I'm talking to another consenting adult and that's just the way we dealt with each other, I can't tell you guys how many situations I've been in where guys have been creepy with me. And when I was younger, even more so, because I've always looked young for my age. So I remember when I was 18 years old, I was in a serious relationship with this guy who shall remain nameless. And I would love to out him, but there's no benefit to it, and I just wouldn't want to do it anyway. I would love to out him because he was an asshole on other levels, not for his sexual kinks, even though his kink was weird. You know, I was 18 at the time, and I looked young, and he asked me to tell him I was 15, and I was like, yeah, that's gross. I'm not going to tell you that I'm 15. And so I wasn't into that at all, and I just put a quick end to that. I wasn't having it. But then you cut to more recently, I was dating a guy that said that he didn't want to know my age, and I know it was because he was doing some kind of fantasy thing, but, you know, you can't pretend I'm anything but of age at this point. So, and there was a part of me that every once in a while wanted to be like, so how old are you pretending I am? Just to see if I would be flattered or not, you know, because Who knows how old he was pretending I was? I didn't care. That's the difference between being younger and being older. Once you get a little bit older, you're like, whatever makes that dick hard. I shouldn't talk like that. But you guys know the deal with me. We all know what I am. Okay, so here's one of the text messages. Well, they're all direct message done through Instagram, his verified Instagram account, which people have questioned. And then somebody came out and said that they aren't even real. Well, one of the girls that originally posted something about it admitted that she made them up, but then there's other people that are verifying it and saying that they did actually happen, and there's more than one person saying it. So it's just kind of spiraled. Like maybe somebody did start off making it up, but only halfway because they heard things. And then there's also a recording of him talking a little bit about it.
They were very risque DMs with someone who I was involved with in very much a sort of like kink-based relationship, if you will. So a lot of shit was said that also most people don't relate to. It's kink, it's niche, it's fetish, right? So that's bad. And as if that wasn't bad enough, think about this. You're having sex with someone and you say something to them in the heat of a moment when you're having sex. If someone else comes up to you and says, oh my God, I heard you said this to that person, like you said, out of the context, out of the heat of the moment, out of that safe place where it fucking sounds perfect to say, it's a little cringy.
But then that person claims that it wasn't actually him, it was somebody that sounds like him. So I don't know what to believe, but I'll tell you guys what it is just so you guys can hear what the internet is talking about. Okay, he said literally nothing matters in that zone. And earthquake. And one thing I'm going to tell you before I go on is that Armie Hammer, if this is really Armie Hammer, uses voice to text a lot, and that's something that really bothers me. It really does bother me because there's so many typos, and I know what voice to text messes up like because I have some friends that use it all the time, and they drive me crazy with it. But it is what it is. So if you see me read a typo or you hear me read a typo, that's what it is. It's not my terrible reading. Literally nothing matters in that zone. An earthquake could have hit the building and I would still be trying to eat you in the rubble. And then she says, yes, exactly. Totally and so deeply satiated, huh? And then he says, I felt like an actual animal. I could have killed you. It's so intense, haha. There were a few bites where I had to stop myself. I got totally lost in just biting you. I didn't know where I was or what year it was. I was so lost in a crazy white light. It was as if everything else completely dissolved. That was also a first for me. Like the entire universe just became my teeth on your skin. It was full on ellipsis. And then she says, why did you feel like you had to stop yourself? See, if you were the victim of anything or you didn't like anything, you wouldn't be feeding into it on direct message. You would put a stop to it and be like, okay, I meant to talk to you about that. The other night, that was weird. And when you kept biting me, that got on my nerves. Because I've had that situation too. There was one time when I had first got my lips done. This was forever ago. I had to be like 22, 23. So, 2 or 3 years ago, there was this guy that I thought was really cute. And so we were hooking up in the car, and which I know I'm classy hooking up in the car, but we were at a club and we went out to the car and we were hooking up and we were kissing and he started biting my lips, like really biting my lips, like it hurt. And at first I was like, please don't bite my lips. And I remember how this went down because it was somewhat traumatic, but whatever. So I was like, please don't bite my lips. And then he bit my lips again. And then I was like, please don't bite my lips. And I remember getting angry like that. And then he bit my lip again. So I went ahead and grabbed his hair. He had long hair, and I grabbed him by the back of his hair. And he like that, like kind of retarded out, which I know you're not supposed to say that, but whatever. It's what happened. He was like, eh. And so I pulled his hair down, and I was like, don't bite my fucking lips. I just asked you 2 different times not to bite my lips. Don't bite my lips. And then he stopped biting my lips. And guess what? It was a good sexual situation, and that was the end of that story. Last night, I almost got cuddle raped. So let's talk about that for a second. Because this person didn't tell me he wanted to just come over and cuddle. And like, we had kind of hooked up before. It's the one I did Disaster Date about, which if you heard that, then you know I was stupid for having him back over. And I'm the one that full on made contact, hit him up and was like, come by. Because I thought maybe we could just have a good time this time. But it didn't end up turning out that way. Because he got on top of me and we're both naked. And he just started cuddling me. And I was so grossed out because I hate cuddling. But if it's after sex, then you can possibly get me to cuddle because I'll probably do almost anything you want after sex. I'm just like, whatever. I'm a fucking puddle. Do whatever you want. So he was on me and I was like, please get off of me. And he still was like, let's just cuddle. I just want to lay with you. And I was like, no, I don't like cuddling. And then he just tried to lay on top of me and I had to like, get off of me. I don't want to cuddle. And literally I had to get that upset about it. And then he got off of me. But I wouldn't out him or feel that I should have to tell everybody that he tried to cuddle rape me. That's not anybody's fault other than my own for not being better in the vetting process and telling him, like, come over and let's just, you know what I'm getting at. But I don't feel like that's anything to really go on about. You know, we're two grown men and there was a mix up in communication and whatever. There's another one where he said, well, for not being ready, you took it like a champ, haha. And then she put, no, I didn't. I tried to crawl away and cried hysterically, Anne. And then he goes on, and this part doesn't make sense because there's not the other part of the conversation, which is a lot of the problem I have with these. If you're going to screenshot something, give the whole thing, not just the parts where it paints the picture that you want it to paint. Let us understand the full context of it. So he put right after that, she's got to be so surprised. Haha, she goes to the pool and came back to an assault victim. And then she puts, I couldn't even look at you during any of it. That's how not ready I was. And then she put, she's a bit shocked. So I don't know who the she they're referring to is, if that's another friend that happened to be there and they were playing this sex game or whatever happened. I don't know what happened to it. But I noticed that even though she said, no, I didn't, I tried to crawl away and cried hysterically, and she doesn't at any point say I exercised my safe word, which if they were playing this full-on game of consensual, non-consensual, then you have a safe word. So if you didn't say your safe word, then that's not, you're not saying even in these text messages that you wanted it to stop. You're just saying that it was a bit more intense, which anybody that plays that way knows that sometimes things do get intense. And I've seen a lot of intense things happen. I don't usually get too involved in the intense just because for me, all of that stuff is not something that's a turn on to me. Like anything that's painful, I told you guys about my lips. Like when the guy was biting my lips, I had just gotten them done maybe a year, well, within the year, and they're silicone, and I'm like, we're about to spring a silicone leak here. How about we not bite my lips? And when people talk to me about spanking, I feel like I was spanked as a child. Those are not good memories for me, and I'm definitely not going to get a boner over it. So please, let's not do any spanking, any hitting, anything that's going to hurt. Another thing that got on my nerves in these situations is Armie Hammer is married, and everybody that was involved in this knows that he was married. There's even a point where one of the girls is like, did you take care of that situation? And then he's like, what situation? And she's like, the fuck your wife so that she lets go of shit situation. And this is literally what she says in the exchange. So you know he has a wife. You know that he's going to try to fuck her to get him to leave her alone so that you two can do your thing, and you're still all right with it. And then he says, yeah, I bought a boner pill to take care of that situation, which I want to know which boner pill he used, because I think we all could use a good boner pill when it comes to having to fuck somebody that you're tired of fucking. I think he could make $1 million as the spokesperson for that boner pill. Then there's another person, which these always jump in, the people that really have no claim at all, but they just want to jump in and be like, I had an interaction with him. He sent this person this message. Hello, pardon the random DM. I can't imagine what your inbox looks like. Must have been what your inbox looks like. Again, voice to text. I'm sure that's what it is. And then he says, okay, I'll get straight to the point. I saw your profile on Field, whatever that is, and saw you included a link. I don't know how to navigate Field as well as Insta, so I thought, fuck it. Fortune favors the bold. Hope this finds you well. If you feel like chatting, let me know. If not, no worries. I would respectfully ask that you keep this conversation between us. Thank you. So he hit you up. who cares? That doesn't show anything other than a pattern of a man that's cheating if he's still with his wife when all this is happening, which is its own problem. But really, is that something I care about? Because there's a lot of people that are cheating on their wives and girlfriends. And yeah, it sucks. I've been cheated on, I think. I've cheated on a lot of people, I know. And so, yeah, I'm not necessarily a good person for that, or not necessarily a good partner for that, but I don't know that that's anything that necessarily needs to be exposed. But whatever, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. He talks about somebody's brain. He talks about that he could just fuck somebody as a pile on the floor. Like, why do they need to walk? Like, that kind of thing. Like, he's pretty insensitive in the way that he talks to people. But in that world and in that context, it all makes sense. So why am I supposed to be bothered by any of this? I don't know how any of this is even my business, other than the fact that life-lacking soul suckers on Twitter feel like this is for some reason something that he needs to be exposed about. Somebody just put the message up that says all the Armie stuff is 100% true. He's about to be exposed. For what? A guy that's into kink? Because I think he's already admitted that. He did an interview where he mentioned that, you know, he started off that way with his wife, and then eventually he grew past that with her because he felt like he respected her too much. So at a point, he decided that he was no longer down with that as far as his wife went, which I think is another thing we could have a conversation about if we really wanted to. Like, if you love somebody and that's your kink, shouldn't you be practicing your kink with them? Why should you think there's a point that you grow out of looking at the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with as a sexual person, or the person that you want to do your most freaky stuff with? Which I've been a victim of that too, on both ends, if you want to say victim. I use the word victim loosely in that context, as in, you know, I've been in situations where people have grown to the point where they love me to the point where we no longer have hot sex, and I've grown to love people to the point where I no longer had sex with them or hot sex with them. I would occasionally give a courtesy fuck or whatever you want to call it, but that's just what happens sometimes, and that's a conversation to be had. Like, that's something that we should start to explore, maybe, so that maybe our relationships last a little longer. Then he talks about one woman who had gone too freaky for him in another interview, and this is him in an actual regular interview. I think he was talking to Elle. Yeah, he was talking to Elle magazine, and he said, one chick tried to stab me when we were having sex. I should so not be telling this story, he confessed. She was like, true love leaves scars. You don't have any. And then she tried to stab me with a butcher knife. Of course, I promptly broke up with her. ... 7 months later. So he's just been into freaky stuff all his life. And what's the matter with that? Different people get off on different things. And if we're going to start making it so these are cancelable offenses, then I don't know how anybody's supposed to enjoy their life with any kind of celebrity. I do not get it. And here he is on another conversation with another person that's supposedly exposing him. He's like, I was hard all day, fucking hard. Fuck. And then she sends back, why were you hard, daddy? Okay, well, come on. You're mad at him for calling these different women kittens, but you have no problem with the fact that she's calling him daddy? Why can't we address the maladjusted bitches that are calling men that aren't their daddy? That's another thing I have no interest in doing. Calling anybody dad or daddy, which is something some in the gay community are into and something some have asked me to do before. I'm not doing it. I have a dad I have a good relationship with. I have no interest in thinking about him when I'm having sex or being sexy with somebody, so I'm not calling anybody daddy. That's just not happening. I don't call anybody daddy except for my daddy, and I do call him daddy a lot because as they get older, I want them to know that I'm still their baby. So I call him daddy and occasionally my mom mommy. It's just the way it works. So I have no interest in assigning those names to somebody that I'm having a sexual relationship with. But again, if that's the way these girls get down, I don't judge them either. I don't judge him for calling them kittens, and I don't judge them for calling him daddy. I just personally, if I'm being judgmental, if I was going to say I have a problem with him calling them kitten, then I have a problem with them calling him daddy. That's, you know, I got to play equal is the way I see it. But I don't care either way. And then he says, you're my obsession. I need you. You're vital, like blood. Your blood. Give it to me. I need it. Okay, girl, we're writing novels now. And then she puts, Why do you need it for, daddy? Terrible grammar. Why do you need it for, daddy? Okay. Why do you need it for, daddy? I trust you. All right. Well, And then, okay, keep in mind, this is a married man she's talking to right now. He says, kitten, you're mine. If I want your blood, skin, flesh, I'll take them. It's going to be super hot, sensual. I'll make you come doing it. You'll feel my love and cannibal need for you. You love me, right? And then she puts, I do. I love you. We are together. A married man. So while you're coming to me telling me your story like he's such a creep, how is it we're supposed to just forgive you, adulteress, you temptress, you minx? Are we just supposed to forgive you for having an affair with a married man? You're not coming to us with clean hands, but you expect him to come to us with clean... I don't know what exactly these chicks are trying to get at, really. This one put trigger warning for the next few posts, CNC, consensual, non-consent, rape, play, and cannibalism, I guess. Well, not I guess, sister. You're saying that's what it is. Then there's another person that says, do you think Armie Hammer is dangerous? He sent this to one of the women, or it was like on an Instagram where you ask a question, and he sent, or I'm assuming somebody's gender. The person sent this woman the question, do you think Armie Hammer is dangerous, or do you think this was just kink play? And then she says kink play doesn't include cannibalism and hurting people, putting a knife between somebody's legs, that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, actually, kink play does cover all of that. As long as you're both consenting to it, that does cover all of that. At no point does anybody claim that they told him no or to stop or gave him any real, like, this isn't working for me. I'll tell you what I do when people come up to me with these weird ideas is I just look at them like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm not into that. I've had to break up with people because I wasn't into what they were into. But the thing is, everybody wants to be famous. And if you notice, the main person they were talking to on this, if you decide to do any research on your own, you'll find out that she got upset because she got ghosted. There's one where this person sends or shows a picture of themselves with like hickeys that I've had worse hickeys when I was first starting to hook up when I was young, like I'm Mexican, so hickeys are no thing for me. And maybe that's bite marks, but I've had some pretty painful hickeys in my past. I'll tell you that. I don't allow them anymore. And when I'm in an open relationship with somebody, I tell them, don't come home with any marks. That's not... I don't care what you do when you're out there. I don't want evidence of it. But I don't know if I want to be in an open relationship again. But again, I'm not going to act like because there were parts of being in an open relationship that I didn't necessarily enjoy that I wasn't consenting to it. And now that person was some sort of creep or forced me to do something that I didn't want to do. Everything that I did maybe in an experimental way because that was my first time being in an actual open where we both admit to an open relationship. But certain parts of it weren't for me, but I still don't feel like that person needs to be exposed or they're a bad person. But this woman shows where she obviously has some bruising from getting choked, and then she has the red mark that looks like a hickey where she got bit, and then she put, you cannot do intense, extreme, CNC, consensual, non-consensual sessions with no aftercare and ghost 2 days later. I was 20 years old. Well, apparently some people can do that, and you now are prepared for that because you've had somebody ghost you 2 days after doing intense CNC sessions. So am I supposed to blame him because you were dumb when you were 20? Because I'm tired of people acting like people that are of age are victims of their own bad choices. We're not talking about, if you notice, one of the words I said most in this entire video is consensual. So we're not talking about non-consensual. So I don't want to hear anybody give any rape rules and like say I'm victim blaming or anything like that. If you're a victim of anything in this situation, it's your own bad choices. It's your own deciding to hook up with the married man. Did you think a married man wouldn't eventually ghost you? Because I don't care what married men tell you, they're usually not going to leave their wives. That's usually not the way it works out. Every once in a while, there's the exception to the rule that'll actually leave their wife. But then you're an even worse person, because not only are you an adulterer, you're also a home wrecker. So is that really what you want to be? Why am I supposed to feel bad for any of these chicks? That's what I really want to know, is why I'm supposed to feel bad for any of these people. Can somebody please let me know in the comments why I'm supposed to feel bad for any of these people? Anyway, let me know. If you guys have any opinions, I'm sorry to go on and on about this, but I felt like this one was important enough, because Twitter is making it seem like this really matters and this man really deserves to be canceled. And I'm not an apologist or making excuses for anybody. I'm saying that if you don't like that kind of play, don't get involved with somebody that plays like that. Not even if you think that they're a famous actor and that they're going to do something for you, or they're going to rescue from the ghetto, or whatever it is you think is going to happen. Maybe you're going to acquire some sort of status by being the woman that dated Armie Hammer. I don't even, like I said, I don't even know who the fuck Armie Hammer was before all this shit happened. I mean, I'd seen him before, and I know he's hot, and he had some situation where he got in trouble on Twitter because he was letting his 3-year-old son or 2-year-old son suck his toes, which was like a weird video that he put up. And who knows, like, maybe that's something to start a little bit of a thing about. But even that, it had its moment where it was a scandal a couple years ago or whatever, and then it went away. And so I don't know what anybody wants to come of these situations. None of you come into it with clean hands, so leave the rest of the world out of it. And for the people on Twitter that have no lives that want to talk about this stuff, I'm sorry, sex sucks for you. Because if you're having your own sex life, you don't need to worry about what anybody else is doing. Consenting adults can do whatever they want to do, and every once in a while, when you're a consenting adult, you do something that you don't necessarily like, and that's how you learn what you like and what you don't like. That's how you learn what your boundaries are. So leave everybody out of it. Enjoy your lives. Everybody have a good day. Thank you for listening. This has been Thai Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.